Hello, everybody. Welcome to Riely Makes Tier Lists. I'm gonna make this a series. I like tier lists. Riely Makes Tier Lists. Today, I decided to do a stupid little silly thing where I made a tier list template for all of my podcast co-hosts. I've I do so many podcasts. I've done so many podcasts. There are 15 total co-hosts here for my podcast, past and present. And I'm going to rank them all in a tier list. I doubt anybody's going to get D, honestly. I love all these people to an extent. There might be one or two exceptions. So, let's get right into it. So we'll go from top left to bottom right, I suppose. We have Ayatku, John, one of the four main hosts, counting myself, of the initial run of In Arceus We Trust Pokemon podcast. I really think John brought a lot to the show by bringing nothing to the show. That's a weird thing to say, but let me try to clarify that. John is not a Pokemon fan, so it was very funny that he was on a Pokemon podcast, and the comedic value of that went miles. Ayatku, John, was priceless on the show. And he's also just like a really cool guy. I haven't talked to him that much lately, mostly because I have some internet friends that I'm not super close to, and if I'm not super close to them, I'm super afraid to bother them. So, yeah, for John, I'd say John gets A. I really like John. Poke Ranger Pat, my co-host, I guess one of two co-hosts by the end of the run of the Poke Survivor Elimination Lock podcast. I really wish I had started a simpler podcast with Pat. I think the Nuzlocke aspect, as much as I really wanted to start a Nuzlocke-centric podcast, I had enough chemistry with Pat that I feel like it would have been better if we had started a more general podcast, and I'd still love to do that in the future if he's down, but I don't think he has time for shit no more. He ain't got time for nothing. Yeah, Pat was pretty good. He could be dry at times, but when he hit, he hit. We'll go B for Pat. By the way, just general disclaimer for everyone. I love you all. Please don't be offended if I rank you lower on the tier list than other people. This is just something I'm doing for fun, for the memes. I value you all. Aoi. I don't know how you pronounce that, but that's Daniel of Ghost of Gaming Future. And also 2 episodes of An Arceus We Trust. I think he was declared a co-host after his second guest episode, but then he quit the show before he actually appeared on an episode as a real co-host. So anyway, Daniel, really talented, really funny. I really like Daniel, and I want to do more with Daniel because Ghost of Gaming Future, as you guys have seen, we're very bad at getting together for it. Mostly at the fault of Jason. Not to name names. I love Jason. When we do the show, it's great, but I really wish I could do more things with Daniel, because Daniel is just really funny and really talented. I'm gonna go with S tier, honestly. I really like working with Daniel. Brad the Bad 101, one of my 4 co-hosts on the Pokemon Variety Hour podcast. He was definitely the least frequent of the 4 to join me, but when he did, it was a real good time. And Brad is a really good friend of mine. I think the biggest unfortunate thing was when we got together for the Variety Hour episodes, because most Variety Hour episodes he was in, it was just me and him, and we kind of get off on side tangents a lot. I think that was the only drawback of Brad. I'll put Brad in B tier. AJ Insane, that's Andrew, the co-host of Largest Issue in the Galaxy. My current most, weekly consistent podcast, even though it's fallen off the rails as of recent. I really like working with Andrew. His heart isn't really in it at times, but when it is, I've used that same sort of terminology like a bunch of times now, but he's really consistently good and funny. Like, for his age, he's only, I think he's 14. Is he 14 now? He's either 13 or 14. And he's really funny. And I really enjoy working with him on Largest Issue in the Galaxy. Sorry for lawnmower noises, by the way. We'll go A tier for Andrew. Gel O, that's Jason, the co-host of Ghosts of Gaming Future. One of two co-hosts, the other being Daniel, obviously. I love Jason. He's one of my best friends. He's great. He's actually really good at online content creation. He used to be my YouTube video editor, and he performed really well on that. And he's just a good YouTuber. He deserves more subscribers than me, just to get on the YouTube tangent for a minute. I watched his Zelda Breath of the Wild review today, and it was really good. And I really enjoy what he brings to the table for Ghost of Gaming Future, even though that show doesn't get together very much. I think Ghost of Gaming Future is just a good trio overall, because I think Jason is going in S tier with Daniel. King Ape, that's Cameron Johns, the main host, the big honcho of In Arceus We Trust. Was part of both runs, obviously. The only one besides myself who was part of both runs of In Arceus We Trust. Me and him, we don't talk anymore. We don't talk anymore. Yeah, I don't appreciate some of the actions he's committed as of recent. But he's good to work with. We get in fights, but when we put out a piece of content, it's usually really good. The initial run of An Arceus We Trust is great. The second run of An Arceus We Trust is great. I was only on one episode. Him and Bliss were really good. But yeah, between the fights we get into consistently and the fact that I don't like him no more, I think he's going to get the C tier. Alright, we're at Raging Gingy, the main host of Pixels, Polygons, and Fun podcast, the show that I co-hosted with him for 60 episodes and have recently returned to as a guest for the past 2 episodes. Well, I guess the past 1 episode, and the next one's coming out, tomorrow. Gingy is great. He's always been there for me. He's really important to me. I love working with him. Yeah. There's nothing else to be said about Gingy. He's just super important to me. My podcasting career would not be what it is today at all without Gingy. He's going in S. The Mass Illusion, Joey, the pre-Daniel, the beta Daniel. He was the third co-host of the first episode of Ghost of Gaming Future alongside me and Jason, until, unfortunately, scheduling issues caused him to leave and be replaced by Daniel, even though we still have scheduling issues, regardless. I really like Joey. He can be, weird at times, I suppose would be the term, But we're all a little weird. And yeah, he's just I really like him. But I don't know how good that one episode of Ghost to Give Me Future was. Enough to warrant him that high of a place. I really want to start a new podcast with Joey. I'd really like to do something with Joey. We just gotta kind of find something that suits the kind of chemistry we have and roll with it. I think Joey's gonna get the B tier for now. Yeah, nobody's getting D. If Cameron didn't get D, nobody's getting D. I don't think. Edgelord420, that would be Ian, my new co-host in my movie review podcast. The Riely Movie Review Podcast, now rebranded as the Riely and Ian Movie Review Podcast. Ian has the potential to go far. He is way funnier than, like, most of the people I know. I think if he really put time and effort in, he could go far with a career as an internet content creator. And I really hope he does, because I am fully ready to just ride on those coattails. Ian's getting S. Grant Leahy, the audio engineer of episodes 2, 3, and 4 of Largest Issue in the Galaxy. And also one of the main forces behind the Dickheads podcast, which I guess kind of counts, but I don't want to count that because the Dickheads podcast technically had like 9 hosts. And also I was only a host at like the very end. So, Grant, interesting individual. He kind of ghosted me, which is unfortunate. He's ghosted everybody. He's ghosted the whole world. He's also a very controversial figure. Like, a lot of people I know don't feel that great about it. But he was always good to me. Besides, the aforementioned ghosting. He's always been a good friend. And he helped me out with Largest Issue before the aforementioned ghosting. I'd say Grant, mostly on the back of ghosting me, is gonna go in B tier. No, you see, I don't think Grant's on the same level as Pat, Brad, and Joey, so I think Grant's gotta go in C with Cameron, but that'd probably instantly change if he would unghost me in return. Atlas, my best friend and my co-host for the short-lived Fresh Baked Laugh Tracks podcast, which only had 1 episode, which the intention of that show was to watch all of the Dan Schneider sitcoms and talk about them. Atlas, as a podcast co-host, was really good for that one time that it happened, but he just doesn't want to start a podcast with me, guys. I really want to start one with him, but he doesn't want to. It makes me sad. Atlas, I'm gonna give him S tier. Maybe that'll touch him enough for starts a podcast with me again. Old School Bliss, the one of 3 hosts of the second run of In Arceus We Trust. He's a funny guy. but I get the impression that he doesn't like me very much. And I don't know if the feeling is mutual. I have a hard time saying that I don't like anyone. But whatever. I'd say he'll go in C tier with Cameron Grant. Penguin Mage, one of my 4 co-hosts of Pokemon Variety Hour, which also Gingy was one of those, I didn't mention that. And the co-host of a new podcast coming soon, TM. Penguin has to go in S tier. Well, as much as the Penguin bias joke does go strong, I think I'm going to put Penguin in A tier. Because I love doing podcasts with Penguin. But she fell asleep a lot. And that was real unfortunate. But I'm going to go, A tier for Penguin. Colo Chew, the final person we are tiering. The co-host of Pixels, Polygons, and Fun, who joined up sometime in like the early 40s, I think, in terms of episode number. And also my co-host for Peg and Colo Are Bored, the old show on my YouTube that I want to bring back real bad. Colo does not share that sentiment, though. The Peg and Colo Are Bored is one of my favorite podcasts I've ever done. And also, Colo's just really funny. I think Colo... I'm stuck between S and A for Colo. I'm gonna go A. So the final tier list of my podcast co-host. In S tier, we have Daniel, Jason, Atlas, Ian, and Gingy. In A tier, we have Colo, Andrew, John, and Penguin. In B tier, we have Patrick, Brad, and Joey. And in C tier, we have Cameron, Grant, and Bliss. It was a fun little side tangent video. I'll do more tier lists in the future. But thank you all for watching. And I guess I'll see you guys next time.